So as I mentioned earlier, we are continuing in our celebration of Women's Month. And this morning we've asked several of the ladies from our Numa Life community to share with us stories of women who have impacted their lives and shaped and molded them. I am looking forward to hearing these stories, and I hope you guys enjoy them too.
Hi everyone, I'm Amy and I am 25 years old, born in Namibia, but I live in Cape Town and have for the last 20 years of my life. So the two characteristics that I'd like to speak to you about today, the first one is generosity and the second one is taking ownership. And the female leader that I am referencing is one of my mentors in a more professional capacity. So I got to know her when I was at university, and I signed up for this mentor-mentee program, not really knowing how fulfilling and rewarding this program would actually be. And through that experience, my experience of generosity with her was her taking the time in the middle of her busy work schedule. She was a new mom at the time, but she took the time to meet up with me, have coffee with me, hear my life story, and give me some really good advice, whether it was socially or whether it had to do with my career, professionally. She just gave me some really good advice. And it makes me think back to something I think Heidi Baker said, which was, love looks like something. And so I think that same principle can be applied to generosity. Generosity looks like something. It's an action, it's a verb, it's something that we do. And so I learned that from her. And how that impacted me professionally and personally as well was, I think we live in a society that encourages us to be selfish or to take advantage of each other, or if we are generous, then it's an advertisement of how good we are as people. But what I learned through her was that, firstly, generosity is an action. It's not just something you say. But also the type of impact it can make on someone's life. So the fact that she took that hour to meet up with me for coffee made such a big impact on my life and influenced the decisions that I made in such a profound way that I've learned through her and through other examples in my life to be generous and to be kind for others. So what that looks like professionally is, if I have a presentation, not always taking full ownership of the presentation, but allowing others to shine as well, allowing other people to grow, investing time in people, because that's so rewarding. When people leave you or leave your conversation feeling heard, valued, and loved, I think that's one of the biggest rewards and biggest honors we have in our lives. And so that's how her generosity has impacted me and how I try and implement or exude that generosity with other people. And the second characteristic that I want to talk about is ownership. And so at the time, I was doing an internship with her company, and it was something that she was actually working on herself, right? It wasn't something that she was confident in, but something that she was actively working on. And how she did that was by surrounding herself with people who affirmed her, both privately and publicly. And that helped her take ownership of her voice, take ownership of the decisions that she made, and influence me in a way that it made me also take notes and made me realize when I was being timid or shying away from sharing my voice, sharing my opinion, sharing my thoughts with others in the room, because it doesn't have to look like something that's big and loud. Taking ownership, sharing your voice can be gentle as well. And so I've just learned to apply that in my own life as well, because not sharing your voice, not sharing what you have, I think robs everyone else in the room of something really good. It robs everyone else in the room of your talents, of your thoughts, of your wisdom, of your humor, if you're a funny person. And so I would just like to encourage everyone else to be generous with an action, and to take ownership and to share your voice with other people around you as well. So yeah.
Hello, Numa family. My name is Gelesiwe Moyake, or Baya for short. And today I get to share with you two women that have influenced my life in honor of Women's Month. So while I was trying to find the words to really describe these women and the impact they had in my life, I found that, words failed me, and I often fell short in really finding the right words to say. But when words fail us, scripture prevails. So if you'll bear with me, I have two scriptures for each one. So for the first woman, please journey with me all the way to 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 5 to 7. I will not give you background context. Go and read your Bible. Anyway, but it says, all at once an angel touched him and said, get up and eat. And he looked around, and there by his head was a cake of bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water. He ate and drank, and then he lay down again. And then verse 7, the angel of the Lord came back again a second time and touched him and said, get up and eat, for the journey is too much for you. And this verse perfectly captures this woman, Annika Eilenfeld. She is, for me, love. She is a place of rest. She is a place of replenishment, care, nurture, and selflessness. At a time when I felt like I didn't really know where I was going and I had a lot of grief in my heart, she was just there, and she, for me, was a place I could really rest. And this woman, Annika Eilenfeld, was my Afrikaans teacher in high school. And the second woman is, again, second scripture. Journey with me to 1 Samuel chapter 14, verse 7. And it reads as follows. His armor bearer said, go ahead, do what you think is best. I'm with you all the way. You may have guessed it, but this one is someone who I consider like a sister to me. She is family, and she's more than a best friend. Her name is Gelesiwe, or affectionately known as Sammy Mhlanga. And the words that really describe her are truth, honesty, loyalty. She is dependable. And for me, she is a firm foundation of accountability, and she has just served as a mirror in my life. She challenges me to go out of my comfort zone and to really pursue all of the dreams and aspirations that sometimes scare me the most. And so both of these women really have shaped the woman that I am today. They gave me courage. They gave me a place to rest when my soul needed it the most, and they gave me counsel. And I just thank God for both of them. And quick advice or words of encouragement for women in leadership. I would say that leadership doesn't have to be you really leading other women. It can also be not only creating a space, but also being a place of rest, being a place of, replenishment, where you reaffirm and you equip other women, and then you send them out into the world. You don't need to be the one who leads, but you can be the one to equip the leader. And so I think that way you make the greatest impact. I love you all.
Hello everyone, my name is Danny. I am a teacher at a high school in Cape Town. I teach English and drama. I'm married to Joshua. He is a very wonderful husband. Shout out to him, even though it's Women's Day. But yeah, because it is Women's Month, Women's Day, the reason that I'm here talking to you guys is to tell you about a woman who had a great impact on my life growing up and who still has an impact to this day. So my story with her begins way back when I was 14 years old, attending church for the first time, attending a youth program for the first time. I walked into the hall and I saw Debbie on stage, sort of hosting the event, and I thought she was just like the MC for the event. But I soon found out that she was actually the youth pastor. And I hadn't really had the opportunity to see many females in leadership positions other than, teachers at school or girls who were prefects at school. So it was really an interesting thing for me to see her leading this youth group of 300 plus kids. And she was so authentic and real. She wasn't anything fancy. She wasn't, glitz and glamour and dressed up to the nines. She was kind of a tomboy and, I don't know, just very down to earth. And immediately I was drawn to her. So some time passes by and I get to know her more, and eventually I get invited to join a discipleship group with her. She was leading it, and there was 3 other girls and then myself in the group. And for the next 4 years of my life, every Wednesday I attended a discipleship meeting with her and these girls, and basically it was just a time for us to talk about things that were happening in our lives, how we were doing spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, how friendships were doing, relationships, and for us to connect with Debbie and her to be a sort of guide and mentor and being able to challenge us and push us in certain directions, ask us hard questions, just be a listening ear for us. So that was how I got to know Debbie and how she came to be such an important influence in my life, because she would know everything I was going through, everything I was dealing with at home or with friends or at school. And as I grew older, she became somebody that, had authority to speak into my life, to challenge me, and to be an example, somebody that I looked to as an example. I just want to talk about 2 traits of hers that really stood out to me and I've carried with me as a woman, and as a woman who loves to lead and believes that I do have a gifting in leadership. I have learned 2 important things from Debbie, and the first of those is her compassion for others. It is not anything showy. It is not about having everybody be aware that she's compassionate and generous and kind. It's just a calling from the Lord on her life to love and serve those around her, whoever they may be, rich, poor, doesn't matter. And I got to experience going on a mission trip with her to Mozambique, where we just spent time ministering to and connecting with and playing with a bunch of kids who grew up on the streets. And I got to see her and how these kids just love her. And she treats them exactly the way that she treated me and the way that she treated all the kids in our youth group. And that really set an example for me as to how to treat others, that it isn't necessarily this show you make on a Sunday or at youth group or in certain circumstances. It's just lived out of you. It's a characteristic of Jesus that was just lived out of her. And it was something that I always kept in the back of my mind. How am I treating others when I am leading, when I'm in spaces of leadership? And then the second trait that she taught me was just her strength as a woman and as a leader. Never did I find it weird that she was leading a youth group and was a woman. Never did I find it weird when she became an elder in our church. Her husband wasn't an elder, she was made an elder. Never did that seem strange to me, because she was always just capable of it. She was just showed up, she was strong, she was firm in her faith, she was firm in her giftings and her calling, and she knew this is where God has called me to be, and so this is where I'm going to serve. And that always challenged and encouraged me that, I know what my giftings are, I know what the Lord has given me to utilize in this world, and I need to just step into those places with faith and with strength and bravery. Those traits in her really have encouraged me over the years, as I have been able and been privileged enough to serve in various areas of ministry within church and outside of church, even within school settings or in my workplace. And I've always carried the learnings I received from her with me. To this day, she is somebody that I still consider my absolute number 1 role model. She, prayed over my marriage at my wedding ceremony. When I turned 30, she sent me a long message just celebrating the 2 decades of my life that she had known me, and praying over the next decade. And yeah, she's just somebody that I feel really inspired to be like. But I guess it's not even really being like her, it's being like Jesus, because the characteristics she has are characteristics that belong to Jesus and that she has taken from his example. So yeah, I think just for me, my encouragement to other girls out there or other women who maybe are aware that they have certain strengths and giftings but feel nervous or hesitant as to how to apply them into life or into ministry, or how to step into those spaces. Maybe they haven't been encouraged. Maybe you haven't felt anybody say to you, you can do it. Maybe nobody said to you, like, you are good enough and you are able to do this. I just want to tell you that you are able, that you are created in the image of a God who is compassionate and kind and brave and strong and firm in his beliefs and firm and rooted in who he is, and so are you. And you are created in that image. So step into those characteristics as Debbie did, and as I have strived to do ever since meeting her. You can too. So I hope that this encourages you that girls, women, we have what it takes, and we are capable, and we are able, and we have so much to offer, so much to give to this world because of this amazing God who loves us and created us in this way.
Hi everyone, my name is Kirsten Hawker. I live in Claremont and I'm a teacher. I'm married to Keanu Hawker and we'll be married for 3 years this year. The lady I'll be talking about today is my godmother, Kirsten Dunbar Chase. She lives in America. She's been friends with my parents for the longest time. My parents have been part of this gospel group since the 90s, and they traveled quite frequently between Cape Town and the USA. And she was always their liaison and person that got them singing in the different churches. In the 90s and early 2000s, my godmother came down to Cape Town and she actually recorded a documentary about the colored people. She found it very interesting that whenever she heard about South Africa or about Africa, that they were always talking about the white person or the black person. But no one really knew about where the colored people came from, the things that we were struggling with, the things that we were good at, our talents, our history, our origins, the different languages. So she made it her duty to find out about all of those things. And I think that's one of the main reasons my parents named me after her, about her uniqueness, for a big heart, and just the caring and kind characteristics that come from her. She's always willing to help, whether it is with her resources, with finances, with her contacts. And she's always someone that has inspired me to live out of the box and to broaden my knowledge in everything I do. A fond memory that I have is that whenever she came down to Cape Town, she always brought me educational things, whether it was books or coloring in books. And I think that was her way for her to just, broaden my knowledge and, inspire me to know more, whether it was about the country or the world or being a woman, or just a child in general. And that was one of the things that we really bonded over, going to museums, talking about books, talking about the history. She's always there when I need someone to talk to, whenever I'm down and out, when I feel like I want to give up. She's always the one that encourages me and gives me advice. And just to give you guys a little bit of a story, when I was in high school, I was bullied quite a bit. So between being bullied and also having a bit of a tough family situation at home, there was quite a lot of times where I just wanted to, throw in the towel, pack my bags, and actually move over to America to live with her. But she always encouraged me just to hang on a little bit longer. She always pushed me because she knew that I was stronger and that I could accomplish whatever I set my mind to. So that's just one of the main things that I truly, truly appreciate and love about is the fact that we are on opposite sides of the world, but she's always there to listen. She's always there to give me advice, to motivate me and to encourage me. We might not speak every single day, but I know that whenever I need her, she's the one that I can count on to either pray with me or to just lift me up and lift my spirits, if I can say so. So my encouragement to the woman out there is to dream big and to always go for what you want. Never let anyone make you feel less than. Never let anyone put you in a box. And know that you can accomplish anything you set your mind to. You are strong and you are capable, and you can do anything you want to do. Thank you.
Hey Numa fam, my name is Kylie, and for those of you who don't know me, I am a 27-year-old woman from the south in the mother city. I've been part of Numa for just over 2 years now, yay! And also I am part of the Numa Collective band, as well as one of the faces you see every few Sundays on stage during Numa worship. So it is such a privilege for me to speak about my granny today. She's one of the women who have stood by my side and a woman who's been extremely inspirational to me. Her name is Desiree Prince. Desiree spelled desire because she really has a desire for people and for life and for her faith. So my granny was born in the 50s, which was quite a long time ago, and she was one of 7 children. And she lost her mother at a really young age, so which really meant that she was quite responsible for a lot of things at such a young age. And she grew up as a Catholic, and she was one of those kids who had to go to different boarding schools and different family members because of the loss of her mother. Now, she didn't have a very easy upbringing, but I think that once she met my grandfather and she got saved, that's when things really took a turn, and when she started to realize her worth and realize who she was in Christ. So I am a 90s baby, and my mom was quite young when she had me, and my grandmother raised me, or assisted my mom in raising me, and she's really been instrumental in the woman that I am today. I come from a family who is Baptist, and the only thing that I know is Jesus, the only thing that I know is God, the only thing that I know is the Word of God. And even though it's the only thing that I know, there was a time in my life when I went a little bit off the wagon, and my grandma was definitely someone who stood by my side and someone who kind of reeled me back in and reminded me who I am and what God has planned for my life. And throughout the years, I actually have a son who is about to be 10 years old. And when my son was born, my granny was also one of the people who was really there for me during that difficult time in my life. And she's really stood by my side throughout everything. She is a woman who is strong, a woman who is extremely caring, a woman who not only just assists me and my parents and close family, but she's someone who always keeps the door open. She's someone who would give a loss to someone in need. She is a woman who is also part of a book club. She is also part of a women's ministry who really loves to give back into the community. And what really stands out about my gran is the fact that she lives like this. She lives with her hands open, even though people tend to take it for granted at times. She always knows that there's a bigger picture and that God will bless her tremendously. So what I would like you guys to take from this today is that no matter how old or no matter how young you are, you can make a change and you can inspire other people. It's such an honor and such a privilege to be a woman, because I know that we have affected change for many years. And even though it was quite difficult in the beginning, we have the ability to stand tall and to be proud of who we are right now. And what a better way than to be a woman of faith, a woman in a community that is surrounded by angels and by the Holy Spirit and by Christ. So if that is something that you can, or if there is something that you can take away from this today, is that it is a blessing to be a woman in a community, especially a woman part of the Numa community, a woman who's part of the faith-based community, because we can affect change in a way that maybe others cannot. There's a sensitivity to other females, especially if you are a woman of God. We can affect change in a way that maybe others cannot. And that is what I want you to take away from this today, is that you need to stand tall and you need to be there for other people, and you need to love and live with an open heart and open hands, so that it's not about receiving all the time, but it's about living openly and being there for people. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful Women's Month to the women, and I pray that you guys are blessed, and remember to be an inspiration.
Hi Numa Life, I hope you're doing well. My name is Naomi Mayang. I'm a member of a platform that's called Women of God Ministry, also a visionary of a platform that's called Lord's Ministry. It's a visionary young woman, a young man, we meet together and pray. And yeah, so today I would like to share with you about a testimony of a woman who really helped me, really influenced my way of leader. And this woman, I remember when I first met her, she was preaching. The way she was preaching, she preached with so much authenticity, so much confidence. Then I start following her. I start going on the church, in the meeting that she was organized, and she was so good in it. And I remember I was so afraid to speak in front of people. And I knew that I have gifts. I knew that I have the callings, but I was really afraid to embrace that. But this woman really helped me with my journey with God, my way of speaking. She helped me and to have confidence in myself and trust in myself. And this woman is she is a mother, she is a businesswoman, and she is a preacher. She has a ministry that have thousands of people. She traveled a lot, but when you look in everything that she has, she's doing the things with so excellence. That these are the things that I think I steal from her, because she's so excellent and really organized. She know that this time it's a time to be a mother, this time it's time to be a woman in ministry, and this time it's time to be a businesswoman. That is so great. Yeah, that is so great. So also she's so humble. She is very humble and very kind. If you just meet her for the first time, you will see it's like you know her for, I don't know, a long time. She's so joyful, this woman. So yeah, and today I want to encourage someone, like you can be a woman, a leader. You can, if you want to do something that you like, you can do. Don't underestimate yourself. Be confident. Just take courage to do whatsoever God is calling you to do. And yeah, so be organized as well. So you can do whatsoever you want to do as a woman. Someone told me that a woman can be multitask. I don't know if it says multitask. So you can do so many things in the same time. You can be a mother, you can be a businesswoman, you can be whatever you want to do. Just have confidence in yourself and trust God in everything that you are doing. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Trudy Brookman. I am an attorney. I specialize in consumer law. I have a practice in Boerkaap. I'm married to Gerard, who's the dishy guy you may have seen around church. What else can I tell you about me? Oh yes, I have a very beautiful dog and cat. Our dog and cat outclass us by a good mile, unfortunately, between me and Gerard. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to tell you about a very dear friend of mine and a wonderful leader who influenced me at a really significant time of my life. I think a very influenceable time of my life. When I was just starting to work, I was doing articles, and I'd moved to Cape Town from Stellenbosch, which is a bit of a small town compared to town. Was looking for people to connect and places to connect into. And with my flatmate, I started going to the AFM church. And there I met the assistant pastor, who was Jennifer Emedy. Her name was Jennifer Saunders in those days. So she's tiny. She fits in underneath my arm. And she grew up in the township in just outside Durban. And the way that we really were able to connect was that she started doing discipleship with some of the people in the church, and somehow I was picked. We used to have a few sessions reading through a book, and I really got to know her a little bit better, and we've become fast friends. Even now, we walk into a room and we like, at the moment she lives in America, so I don't see her that much. We're right there again in a moment. What was significant to me is that she modeled a few amazing things that I hadn't necessarily come across a lot before. She was a really approachable leader. So she was a person with whom you could just honestly share everything that you were going through, and you could hear from her just honestly exactly what she was going through. And she went through some really wild rides in those days, and I think even now the whole immigrating thing is still something that she's working through. One of the great adventures that she had was that she was married for probably 8-9 years, wasn't able to fall pregnant, couldn't figure out what the story was. In the end, one of her friends, they were just starting a church for refugees, and so there wasn't a ton of money in the house, she and her husband at that stage. So a friend of hers paid for her to go and see a gynae and see why she wasn't getting pregnant. Desperate for a baby. Her husband comes from a really conservative family from the DRC, and the thought of not having kids was definitely not on the table for him, so they were keen. Anyway, they went to go and see the gynae. She did a scan and called George in, that's Jennifer's husband, and showed him the scan and said, look, I'm sorry to say there's a growth here in the womb, and actually you need to come and take a close look. And once he looked, he saw the growth was a baby. And anyway, he started crying, never stopped crying until they got out the taxi at home again. And that little girl is now about 12 years old, and her name is Grace. Anyway, so what I want to say is that Jennifer really modeled a lifestyle of faith and miracles to me at a time that I grew up in a much more conservative church. She was able to not just talk about faith, it's something that she talks about a lot. She's written a book on faith, but also model it in her life. The way that she came to faith, to me, is always just the most incredible story. She used to be a gangster as a young girl, sort of a high school girl. And then when she was in that phase still, she crossed a big road close to home at some stage, didn't look properly, and got run over by a truck. Literally, a huge big truck ran her over. She was in hospital for 2-3 days in a coma, And when she woke up from the coma, the Lord had met her wherever one is when you're in a coma, and she was saved, changed her whole life around, finished school, and then started studying to become a missionary, and that's the first job she got was at that church that I met her. So she just has been an incredible inspiration for me of really living your faith and also experiencing God in such radical ways that you start to expect Him to be very big, very almighty, very great, and all of that, not just around you, but in your life. So I think I learned from her. I hope I've learned it. I think she's much more resilient than I am. She's had a tough life in many respects, but she remains cheerful and joyful, and she lives that faith. And I think that's the second thing, living your faith and expecting to see miracles from the Lord in response to faith. In terms of inspiring other women leaders, or maybe even young girls to become leaders, there is a niche, and the thing is, the Lord has placed inside of each of us a particular characteristic that reflects His personality, and the Lord is just a leader whether He wants to be or not. I mean, in a sense, that personality trait inside of us should be coming out whether we want it or not. I mean, we couldn't really keep it in, because that is the thing that we created for, to reflect the Lord's glory and beauty and sense of humor and amazing skillfulness and relationality and all of the wonderful characteristics of the Lord, is creativity. So whatever that thing is inside you, as a woman as well, that needs to just come out. And if you let it out, that's going to lead you into a place of being a leader in that sphere. And one doesn't have to be the president of the US. I mean, you're welcome to try that if you like, but to be a leader is to just shine at the thing that you were created to do. And I think that's the most effortless and the most fun way of being a leader, and hopefully the most effective and beautiful and a way as well, and a way in which you can be a blessing to others in the way that the Lord very much intended you. So be encouraged to let out the beauty that the Lord placed inside you, and to shine in that, and to step up when there's a moment to shine in that thing that you were made to do. That's it from me. I'm signing out.